Hello, everyone, and welcome to Umbraco Community Office Hours. This is the show, I guess we can call it, where we try our very best to answer questions from users, community members. So please add them on the right-hand side. There should be a little chat window where you can ask us questions. Today's topic is Umbraco Cloud, and in order to help me talk about Umbraco Cloud and, very importantly, answer the questions, I've brought in a couple of colleagues. And we also have a community member in here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Office Hours. I think before we dive into the topic of Umbraco Cloud, we should do a quick round of introductions. I could maybe start with myself. My name is Rune. I'll be your host for the afternoon, and I'm a product communications producer at Umbraco. And let's just kick it off with the next one. Søren, would you like to introduce yourself and maybe tell us what your first with Umbraco was?
Yeah, I'm Søren. I'm a product owner at Cloud Feature Team. I've been with Umbraco since the 1st of November, and that's also where my experience with Umbraco actually started. I have been working in agencies and similar software companies who is likely to use Umbraco, but we have just not used Umbraco of various reasons. But I'm really glad to be at Umbraco. It has been a blast for the first couple of months. And as a product owner, my basic objective is to create value at all times, to ensure that we are doing the right things at the right times, both on the long term and the short term, to empower our users in the portal and to ensure that they can really grow and create fantastic solutions.
Very nice, very nice. And you, guess you could say you're the first product owner we've got that's got a very specific area. And what's the area you're working specifically with?
Yeah, I am in the Cloud Feature Team where we work primarily on the cloud portal. And here we are in a really exciting time where we are sort of make a new architecture. So we are lifting a lot of the old legacy ports to new technology, which enable us to create a lot of new features. We are not been able to do much of what we do now in the past. So that I'm helping with. I'm talking to a lot of customers and also internal stakeholders to ensure that we really understand the customers of the portal, that we know their pains that they have, and also can see the gains that we can add to the portal, so they are in a really good spot, and that so the portal is the best way to host Umbraco solutions. So value is the key word here. I'm talking to customers, internal stakeholders, following the GitHub issue tracker, and got a lot of information from all type of community partners here. So yeah, and then I work in the background to create the task. Yeah.
Very cool. And I know you have some exciting stuff to show us a little later today as well. So looking forward to that. Next up, let's take your sidekick, I guess, Christian.
Thank you. My name is Christian. And when I started at Umbraco, there was 0 Christians but me. But when Umbraco grew, more Christians came along. So now I'm just Kick, which is an abbreviation of my first name and my last name. So that's why. I work in the same team as Søren on the Cloud Feature Team, and I work to convert Søren's crazy ideas into technical tasks that our developers can then solve and then provide the value that Søren believes we should provide.
Very nice. And your first interaction with Umbraco, what was that?
That was my first job interview where our, the recruiter, he showed me around and he walked directly into the glass door into Beetroot. That's the first memory I have of Umbraco. It was really hard not to laugh, but yeah, I've tried it myself. It really hurts, so it's not fun. But
that's quite an experience. Yep. Thanks. All right, Morten.
Yeah, my name is Morten. I am currently the team lead for the hardcore team. And yeah, I've been with Umbraco for a long time. Since before Umbraco Cloud. Since before Umbraco Cloud was cool.
Very cool. And as the raisin in the end of the sausage, we have Frans, who is not employed by Umbraco HQ, but is actually working in an agency that uses Umbraco quite a lot. Frans, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Frans. I work at an agency in the Netherlands called Web Wonders. I'm the owner and technical lead there. And we are at the moment a cloud-only company. So every hosting, all the hosting we do on Umbraco Cloud, and we go as far as making that our sole hosting solution at the moment. And we not at the moment, but for the future, I think it's the best way to host Umbraco. Period.
Very nice. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, it can't be harder than that.
What was your first interaction with Umbraco?
That was when when our own CMS was outdated, and I was looking for a replacement within the company. That started with Umbraco 7.0.0, so I never experienced 6 or 4 or whatever was in between those two. And of course, the first code garden I went to was that was the deal maker. That was when I was sold to Umbraco. Yeah.
Very nice. And as I mentioned, Frans is a community member and a user of Cloud. So if you have any questions around how it is to work with Cloud on a day-to-day basis as an agency, I'm sure he can help out with answering those questions. For myself, I can say the first time I encountered Cloud Umbraco was when I was studying. I was working a lot with WordPress back then, trying to make it work as a content management system properly. And then someone came to our school and showed us Umbraco, and I was pretty much sold. It did all the things that I wished WordPress could do. So it was all just about learning .NET from then and then onwards. Also working from version 7, so I haven't really worked with the earlier versions either. All right, so the reason we are focusing on Cloud in this episode that I wrote a blog post in December, I think, kind of looking back at the year in Umbraco Cloud, and there was an amazing amount of new features added, but also importantly, we completely changed the infrastructure under Umbraco Cloud. A pretty big project, I think. We can safely say that we've been working on that for a couple of years, so it's great to finally deliver on that. And Morten, could you tell us a little bit about why we kind of embarked on the journey of building Cloud once again?
Apart from us needing something to do, no. Joking aside. So, well, like, let's say with the previous version of Umbraco Cloud, or let's say the original Umbraco Cloud, was based around an infrastructure which was proprietary software from Microsoft, which was approaching end of life, and at a point in time where it was only getting security updates. We had also been lacking a lot of flexibility in the solution. That it served us well for many years, but it also reached a certain point in time where we were not getting enough out of it. We wanted to do a lot more in terms of plans and features, which this setup was limiting to a certain extent. And so we started looking elsewhere to, like, what can we do? How can we deliver on the features that we want to deliver on? How can we improve stability was also a key driver. How can we improve on on scalability, both from the perspective of cloud, but also on a regional scale, like how can we provide Umbraco Cloud in multiple regions, not just in Western Europe. And so all of these things combined, but I would say especially around the flexibility that we didn't have in the previous setup of cloud is the reason why we needed to change the underlying platform.
Yeah. And it not only has prepared us to deliver on some of all of those great things like adding new regions and stuff like that, but we actually also got quite a lot of tangible improvements with the new infrastructure. There's kind of a lot of components to it. There's both the CDN and hostname layer with Cloudflare. There is new authentication services, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the new stuff that was added last year?
Yeah. So one of the first things, or I guess the first thing that was added actually to enable this, because a lot of the changes that has been going on this past year or the past 2 years has been in preparation for this move to a new platform. So one of the first things that we did was to introduce blob storage for all cloud projects, so that all media content or the entire media library would be saved to blob storage instead of within the website's file system itself. So first adding blob storage, and then adding Cloudflare as a way of handling host names. That gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of ensuring that there's no downtime while we move stuff around. A lot more flexibility in not being tied to a specific IP, which is tied to a specific set of infrastructure components, which involves both us, but especially clients who would need to update DNS. So of course we needed to be one update to the DNS before we could introduce Cloudflare. But with this introduction of Cloudflare, it means that going forward, needing to update DNS settings should not be needed anymore. And then we can add a lot of the tools from the Cloudflare toolbox as part of Umbraco Cloud. And that's something that we'll see in the near future, that will add more flexibility around security settings and caching settings. And then obviously we introduced Umbraco ID as a central login mechanism for all of Umbraco Cloud, so both the portal and the back office. That you have a central point of entry, so you don't have a login for each back office that you access, but you have a centralized login, which enabled us to do single sign-on and which will enable us to do two-factor authentication as well in the near future.
Yeah, exactly.
And then obviously the whole platform itself is new, which gives us a lot of flexibility.
yeah, it does. And there was a big celebration at the end of last year, November, I think, something like that, October, November. We reached, you could say, feature parity between what we call the old Umbraco Cloud infrastructure and the new one. So everything you could do on the old one, you could also do on the new one, and that also really let us start to focus on adding new features. And I think one of the big new things that arrived with the new infrastructure was also the advent of Umbraco 9, right? So Umbraco on the ASP.NET Core, which actually has changed the way Umbraco projects are structured quite a lot. Can you talk a little bit about that, Morten?
Yeah. Yes. So I guess that's in parts enabled by the platform, and in part enabled by .NET Core, or the fact that Umbraco is now .NET Core based. Because with Umbraco 7 and 8, the way a project was structured was that basically the runtime of the website was committed to a Git repository, which we then used to deploy between environments. And that meant that you essentially had to compile your website or whatever components that you had on your own machine or on your own build server before you deploy it to cloud. And that had a lot of friction for the agencies and the users who had their own build setup, or who had their own Git repositories, or had their own way of structuring, or different ways of structuring Umbraco, where having an additional Git repository sometimes could be a bit painful. So with Umbraco 9, we could do it in a slightly different way, as the solution itself, or the project, the Visual Studio project, or not that it should be opened in Visual Studio, but the project file, let's call it the project file, was in the Git repository. So when you deploy, it's compiled as part of the deployment, and not before you deploy it to cloud. So again, a lot more flexibility in how the project is structured, and then you can rename it so it suits your naming scheme, and you can do a setup in a solution file if you run it from Visual Studio. So again, a lot more flexibility around how you build and run Umbraco.
I think that's a good point, and it's also I think we could say it's more recognizable if you are a .NET developer or Umbraco developer. Use Cloud before, because it is a more kind of a native way of working with .NET projects, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is just fantastic. It's really, really cool to use. I was wondering, Frans, have you started on any Umbraco 9 projects, or maybe played around with it, and what's been your experience with the new version?
Yeah, the new version makes a lot of sense coming from the old version. We started Cloud when we had our own server. Everything was remote desktop deploy, drag and drop files, so that was hell. Then came version 8, where we had a core project in our own Git repository and the web project in Cloud. That it didn't feel completely right, but it was such a leap forward, especially for a smaller agency. We just can't create time enough to create a nice solution for ourselves. So going from that to version 9, we have our third site running Umbraco 9 on Cloud right now. It's a huge leap forward. It feels it feels a lot faster. It looks a lot more stable. There's less issues on the platform between those two, between vNext and v9. It's really good to see the changes. Yeah.
Cool. That's very awesome to hear.
Yeah.
We have a question coming in here. Let's see if I can figure this out. What was that? What performance enhancement do you get by using blob stories as opposed to the same file system as the Umbraco solution is running on?
Who's the question for?
I don't know.
Can we ask Frans?
I don't have that data, I think.
No, I'm not sure if it makes sense to talk about performance on the website with regards to blob storage. I think with blob storage, it's more about offloading it and storing that in a central location, which is more suitable for those types of images, and that it's a media library. It adds, as I say, from our perspective, it adds some flexibility in that the media library is not on disk on a specific web app. So let's say in terms of being able to move around and scale your website, or if you move between plans, then it usually means that you're moving to another resource. If the media assets were on disk, that would be quite a lot that we needed to move. So from, let's say, from an optimization perspective, it makes a lot of sense to put it in blob storage. And once it is in blob storage, then it's a lot easier to add a CDN on top. So I think it just makes a bit more sense from a website perspective. If there's a performance improvement, I'm not sure if you could say that.
Maybe in deployment, there's an improvement, because before we had to push all the images through all the environments. That's
Right.
a clear improvement from our side. That's all solved now.
Yeah, I guess that moving it between environments will definitely be faster, because it's within the same blob storage account essentially, at least the underlying one. And then it's just blob storage is just fast. so that's a good thing.
Definitely. And one of the big
and unlimited storage almost. Well, I guess from our side.
There probably is a limit somewhere, right? But let's say there's plenty of space to.
Didn't we have unlimited storage at one point? Maybe that was a maybe that was a dream.
Sounds good though. No, but a huge benefit for Umbraco Cloud for sure, and also the fact that it's just set up when you click start a new project, all of that stuff is right. That's usually what a lot of people working on new Umbraco projects, they spend time on setting these things up, right, and all of that is just handled for you automatically. So I
think that's one of the big strengths in all of this, and that it's just enabled on cloud. So when you clone it down and work with it locally, you don't really have to worry about or even think about that there's blob storage behind it. So locally, it's just local files, right? But when you deploy it, push it up to cloud, then it's in blob storage.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay, so with these, with the new infrastructure in place, that has allowed us to really start focusing on adding new features. Of course, there's constantly new developments for the CMS, for Umbraco Deploy, which handles the transferring and deployment between environments and forms. So there's plenty of great stuff going on there. But I think in the last year or so, 6 months especially, we've seen a lot of new things coming to Umbraco Cloud, the platform, the portal. And maybe Søren and Kik, you can tell us a little bit about the kind of where we are at right now and what's coming in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. So as introduced, we also done a lot of work for the portal specifically. And the Cloud Feature team have in the past year worked intensively of migrating a lot of the older code to a new portal architecture, which is service based and is a lot more scalable and flexible for the future. This puts us in a really good spot where we actually can continue to start enabling new features and create them. That's something we could not do in the past due to restrictions and some legacy components. But we are definitely in a good situation now where we can start creating features. And here we'll just highlight what we have done in the past months and also what we plan to do in the future. Besides improving the portal architecture in Q4 and actually the whole year, we also started to kick off some what we call for customer value proposition workshops. And here we have 4 really good sessions with existing partners where we talked about the jobs that they found should be done in the portal, what pains that they currently have, and also what gains they want to achieve. We use this to sort of create gain creators. So we discovered what software and which features we have to build in order to give the gains that they want to have in the portal, and also some pain relievers in order to annul and remove the frustration and the bad processes that they have to do in the portal. So basically, this is about creating or finding where we can do most value for the customers. And then we got a lot of feedback in these sessions, and we have started creating a roadmap where we plan our future cycles, where we put in the feedback that we got in these sections or these sessions. Besides that, we also considered the public issue tracker, where there is a lot of great feature requests and bug reports that we have also considered and done in the past months. Let me tell what we have done in January, for instance. Here we started to consider some of the feedback that we got the month before. For instance, it's been requested from multiple agencies that they can break the project reference between baseline and child projects. It's something in the past only our SWAT team could do, but of course it makes total sense that we can empower the agencies to do it, so they can quickly move along and don't have to wait for SWAT to do this. And we also relieve the pain of all the work at our SWAT workers. We also want to show a lot more information in the portal. Something basic here, as you can see, we here show a new page where you can see the payment status and also the plan for that project. And there's a lot more to come where we want to show a lot more information that we have, and why not show it? So that's one something we strive to do in the future. The same concept is for the blob storage connection, also a requirement. Previously they had to go to Kudu to sort of find 4 sections and put this together before they could actually for the agencies could actually open the connection to the Blob Storage Explorer. So that's one example that we have highlighted in the portal. That's now it's just as easy as this to get that connection string and get things moving. In general, we also introduced the new cloud release notes. As we knew that we from January and continuously will introduce a lot of new features, we should also, of course, have a space where we could highlight this and sort of have an animation where you can see how it works in real life. Another great excitement in January is that we started a new project where we start creating a new portal frontend. As you might know, we have developed a Umbraco UI library, which is based on web components. And we knew that the portal frontend is kind of old, and we would like to make it more modern, so it's future-proof and also more flexible for future feature requests. So here we have in the Cloud Feature team a really good collaboration with the Umbraco frontend team, where we are showing a lot of great progress and also improving the Umbraco UI library as we progress. So it's a win-win situation, and we plan to go public with the first migrated pages in a week or two. Basically, it's a migration project.
I think that's really cool that we're using the UI library on cloud as well, even before we start implementing it in the CMS. So it really gets battle tested, dog fooded, I guess is a word as well. But really using it in real life scenarios. So I think that'll help mature it for sure. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah. So in this month, we have had a focus on project invites. It's one of the outcome of the customer value proposition that it was not always working as intended. That's why we introduced some more features. For instance, we have now introduced a feature where you in the project invite can choose which role that the invitee should have in the portal. And in the next month, in a few days, actually, we will also do the same thing on back office user groups. It took a bit longer time to make that feature available, but it will come in the near future. We also enable it to that a user can copy the project invitation link if he wants to try it himself or send it manually by mail or some other way. And finally, we also improved the pending invites screen, as we can see here, where we now list when the project invite is expired and the current status, and you can also delete it if it's expired. And besides that, we also show the current back office user groups in the back office now. In the past, we only showed the original user group that the user was invited to. In March, we have a couple of exciting features. First of all, we will go live with a new static outbound IP feature, and here we will introduce it for projects on a standard pro or enterprise tier. There will also be a new feature for starter projects as well. Here they can in the near future see the dynamic outbound IPs. But if you are on a standard or pro plan, you can switch static outbound IPs on, and then you can see the IP range that you can give to e.g. a third party if they have a service that is based on firewall authentication. So that's an exciting new feature that we are going to launch. And that's one example where we sort of want to add new features on a proper level. In this example, we introduce this feature on the standard and upwards, and we also plan to do it with some features in the near future as well. For instance, on some security features that I will highlight on the next page here that Morten can introduce. I have already mentioned that we will have a new feature where you can, in the project invite, list or choose the proper back office user group. It's basically a request that Frans had in our talk, so I know he'd be kind of glad when this is introduced. And we also have a new exciting features, which is a small peek into the future. On the users page, we will start showing the top pages or the pages that use the most bandwidth. I think we will go live with this in a couple of days. So it's something that gives more insight to users, which they can use in various ways. For instance, to see why the bandwidth is quite high for the month, then you can see which pages consume the most bandwidth. And this is just the first step. We want to do a lot more. So here we hope for really good user feedback on additional features that they think is relevant in relation to bandwidth or to media storage or other things. Besides that, we are currently finalizing our organization rewrite. We have rewritten the organization section in Umbraco Cloud from scratch. It's something we've been working with for a couple of months, and that enables us to do a lot of more organization features in the near future, which we are really excited about. It could be adding a new team feature, for instance. The existing one is sort of limited, and we want to have a lot more flexibility in that, and basically support the organization term a lot better in the portal. Yeah. And in Q2, we also have planned a lot of features. We are currently working on a new project overview. It's something we started some time ago, and we have had a lot of talks with the agency who have some requirement and some wishes for this. Currently, we are talking to 3-4 partners where we get some feedback on our current ideas and our current prototyping. And when that is completed, we will start developing it in our new or in our Umbraco UI library web component style. So that's really interesting. See how that ends up. We want to both facilitate the ones who have a limited number of projects, but also facilitate and strengthen the overview and flexibility of our larger partners who have more than 500 projects, for instance. So we talk a lot of different personas here. It's really exciting. And Morten team, he also mentioned that we start working on two-factor authentication in Umbraco UI. And we also have some security pages actually that we're going to deliver quite soon. Morten, can you elaborate a bit on the security pages that is going to be launched in the portal in a few weeks?
Yeah, sure. Also, we'll be adding 2 new sub pages under the project page. One for security, where it will be possible to update or change certain security settings. The settings that you have access to will vary from plan to plan, but some of the stuff that you'll be able to change in the first iteration is enabling HTTP2, enabling HTTP3, and setting a minimum TLS version, and also enabling TLS 1.3. Then at a later point in time, which I'm not sure exactly when, but I believe it'll be for Pro plans, but don't. Yeah, if I'm wrong, then don't kill me. But I believe for Pro plans in the future, it will be possible to customize the Cypher suite that is exposed for your custom hostname. So we've heard it a few times that the Cypher suites that are available by default is not always the desired ones that you want to expose through your hostname. So the Cypher suites will not be part of the first iteration, but will be added later because it's something that we want to add that flexibility for you to control on your hostname. And then from a caching and speed perspective, we'll have a subpage as well where you will be able to enable caching first and foremost. You will be able to purge caching. So all of the assets, static assets that are cached, you can purge those. Then we have some minification settings as well. So if you don't want to fiddle around with your own minification settings for CSS, JavaScript, and also HTML, you can just flip a switch in the Cloud Portal, and then it will be minified for you automatically as part of the request and cached in the CDN as well.
Nice.
And then, yeah, what else? Then we'll also have the option to cache everything. And when we cache everything, that's not only static assets, but also HTML. So if you want to serve up a completely cached version of your website, then that will also be possible. So that means that it will essentially be served from CDN. And then you can set the TTL, so the times lived, so how long that the cache will be, or how long the assets or website will be cached. And again, this will also follow the tiers. So you have a certain number of purchase that you can do per day, which varies depending on the plan. And cache everything will be available, I think, from a standard plan. But that will be clear once it's out. So we're still putting the finishing touches on this and enabling all of these caching options. So a lot of pretty cool stuff that will come into the portal very soon.
Definitely, that's an amazing amount of of new stuff. What do you think, Frans? What are you most excited about?
For sure, the caching. That's something we are really looking forward to have control over that for the static assets. But yeah, with this speed of development at the moment, it's yeah, the sky is the limit. It seems sometimes it's really really great to see how fast things are going. I've been in contact with Søren about the new portal, of course. To give us the data we need on a daily basis, status updates about the health of the sites, if there are any issues, and to have that much information in one place. Yeah, that's something that's so powerful for an agency like ours, who just don't have the people to be on that all the time. It's yeah, it's awesome to see the development speed at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have some more, Søren?
Yeah, I also want to mention that currently we have started a migration of the products from the old shop to a new shop that is integrated into to the portal. So that's something that people will know or see when they are moving or choosing payment methods. Then we'll see it included, embedded in the shop, and not be transferred to the shop.umbraco.com, which it currently are. And what is next? It's difficult to say. We have a lot of great ideas. We have a new round of customer value proposition lined out. But we are always really eager to hear what the requirements and are out there, and new ideas and feedback. So people listening to this should just get in contact with me if they have some questions or want to get into the loop of some of the things that we are considering. It could be the new dashboard that we are creating, and we're also starting to consider a new monitoring dashboard where we provide a lot more information regarding the resources such as the CPU and memory and all of the things that people currently can see in the portal. We are also really ambitious about this new monitoring dashboard, and we have started making the first proof of concepts. And if the agencies want to get involved in this, they should just contact me, and we are really eager to get partners involved. We have a real desire of a customer-centric development, so we are creating the most value for our partners and the agencies out there with the effort that we put into the cloud.
Yeah, sounds really good.
Yeah.
Actually got a question coming in that says, what is the best place to provide feedback or feature requests? So I mean, of course, it's nice to be able to reach out to you directly, Søren, but there might also be specific things for Umbraco Deploy or things like that, or just issues you run into that might need to. That's a good place to reach out about those kind of things.
Yeah, we have various GitHub issue trackers where people come with feature requests and bug reports and sort of share information. It's a really good place to write these kind of things and get in touch. And we also have a Discord channel where people can log in and write with a lot of great people working in an HQ and community. I'm not really active there, as I know many of my colleagues are, but I will try to dig in there more often. But it's also a really great place, and I think you can find most of the information here by just googling it or visiting our documentation page.
Yeah, definitely. And on our GitHub account, all of the repositories are listed as well, and we have a number of repositories specifically for tracking issues. So there's umbraco.cloud.issues, there's umbraco.deploy.issues, and so it's quite easy to find the relevant one in there where you can add things. But of course, you can also reach out in the chat in the portal and talk to them, and they'll also help guide you to the right place to put in these things.
Yes.
Yep. Sounds good. Let's take a round of questions then. I think it could be interesting to hear what your favorite cloud feature is of all of them. Should we start with you, Søren?
Yeah, we could. Of course, I love most of the new features that I have sort of got from my customers. So I love them.
Your babies.
Yeah.
all the features that you created.
but of course, if I have to highlight something, it's that you can easily spin up a new development environment, for instance, in the cloud. I have been developer and architect in the past, and knows that it just takes hours on other platforms if you're going to do it yourself in Azure or somewhere else in other SaaS solutions.
Yeah.
And it's just impressive. I think it's a fantastic feature, which would ease the pain that I had in the future too. And problem solving. It just works. I think it's a really great feature. So I will select that one.
Yeah, Christian.
I would probably mention something that we haven't talked much about here or in general, but I like the baseline feature very much. I think it's actually pretty clever way to duplicate code that you write in different websites. I mean, I would believe that if you make a lot of the same type of websites, you need the same kind of integrations or the same kind of widgets or the same kind of doc types, and you can just create them one place and then you get a project of the same type, spin up a baseline, and then you have it ready to start building the website for the customer. I really like that.
Yeah. Maybe just quickly explain exactly what is the baseline feature.
The baseline feature is a feature that takes a copy of the parent project, the baseline parent project, and then everything you do from there in the parent project, you can push to the baseline child, and you can create as many children from a parent as you want. So if you have a certain type of customer, I don't know, a hairdresser, hair salon, or carpenter or something, you can make the parent, and then you can create a child, and then you can start working with the same dog types, with the same data types as you have in the parent, and you get another customer of that type, you can spin up another site based on the parent again, and you can build with the same blocks that you already have spent time on creating.
Very nice, very nice. Morten, what's your favorite feature? Do you have one?
I was going to say baselines. I don't know if that's taken, or can I say baselines also?
I mean, sure. If that is your favorite feature, then
Yeah,
go ahead.
I guess. Yeah, I guess
Can
the
you
person.
explain to us what base?
The person who made it must be really clever.
Yeah, big brain for sure, definitely. What about you, Frans?
I like the flexibility between environments. What I really like now is a client has an issue with complex content. We just copy the content, pull it to their development environment, work on it, find the issue straight away because it was an image with the wrong alt tag. I don't know what kind of stupid thing there was in there that didn't work. And then we can push the fix to the staging environment. Yes, it works, push it to live. So we can work with live content on our local machine really fast, and yeah, we see often that there's typos with weird characters or something like that we don't expect in our code because we don't expect everything, and the issue lies there, and we can simply test it on our local machine. That's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, very nice. Well, I can choose another one, I think. For me, one of the really cool things about cloud is automatic upgrades. I think that's a huge win. Like when new patches come out, they're actually just applied to a site. You don't have to worry too much about it. I think that's pretty great. And also for minors, and I guess soon majors as well, it'll actually it's possible to upgrade really easily by just clicking a button instead of having to set a ton of stuff up. So and quite easy to test those things out. So I think that's incredibly powerful.
Yes, and with automatic upgrades comes automatic security. If there's a security issue, it's always there really fast. And I get the email of there's a vulnerability found in Umbraco, and I'm like, okay, just fix it for me, please. I don't have to look at it. It's really nice to see that.
Yeah. And that goes for all the products we use in projects, right? So it's both for the CMS and for forms. We had a forms issue last summer, for example, and that was rolled out to cloud immediately as it was available, things like that. Yeah, so good point. Definitely. Well, now we've talked about the favorite feature. What if you could add anything right now that you'd like to add to cloud, a new feature, what would that be, Søren? If you had a magic wand.
Yeah.
Do you have a magic wand?
No, I haven't, unfortunately.
His magic wand is Christian.
Yeah, exactly. And a bunch of great developers, so they can do magic for me. But I guess it would be a new project overview, a new dashboard where you can get one page where you can see it all. You can make flexibility or have flexibility in grouping projects. You can filter and you can basically do whatever you want. It's something that has been requested for years, and definitely something that we want to deliver upon. And basically, we want to support developers a lot better in the portal than we currently can. Also to display information that can help them in troubleshooting that they might have. And perhaps we can do it even better than other platforms because we know Umbraco, we know the infrastructure, and we could be proactive and serve information up front that is needed for them if something occurs. So that is something we have a bigger vision about. So I'm looking forward to that. And if I have a magic wand, it would be here tomorrow, but it takes a bit longer time, I guess.
Yeah. Nice. Christian?
I think I would like to convince everyone that we should work more on the baseline stuff. I mean, I think the reason why you asked me to explain it is because it's actually a little bit hidden in the cloud. You would need to know that once you create the project, you choose that it should be a baseline of something that you have already. So it's not like there's not any helpfulness to create it. And once you have it, the management of it is a bit like unfortunately, a lot of other features in the portal, a bit outdated. So I'd like to give that an overhaul as well. I think at least we have some backlog items on adding the baseline to the project creator. So when you choose your product, you can choose your baseline, and then it will assist you a bit better in creation of baselines, and then also explain to you what it is. But it's been postponed a couple of times now. But that would be my wishful thought from Umbraco Cloud. Yeah.
Morten?
He's going to say
this
the
time I
same.
won't. No. This time I won't say baseline. For me, there would be feature environments. That's something that I've wanted for a long time.
Right. Yeah.
I guess that it kind of goes hand in hand with also being able to bring your own Git repository. So like if you have your project on GitHub, that it can be connected to Umbraco Cloud. And when you create pull requests, for example, that you could decide on getting an environment being spun up for that specific pull request. So you can test it out. Let's say you're developing a new section for your website or a member login area, for example. And that's what you have in your pull request, that you could then maybe even for all pull requests, that it spins up an environment within your project. And then you can go to cloud and test it out for reals, so that it's not only a pull request, but you also have an environment where you can test it out before actually pulling it into your main branch and deploying it to development.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big things for me.
Yeah. So sort of enabling feature branching in a way, right? But
yeah.
Within the cloud architecture, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So you could have like different versions of your development environment, for example, and then merge those in once you've tested it.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good. Looking forward to that one, Morten.
Yep.
What about you, Frans?
Yeah, for me it's a boring choice, but the same as Søren. In the past I've hacked together a new dashboard based on a Chrome plugin, and it shows me the data I need, but it is slow because I don't have access to the endpoints, and it was because of one GUID somewhere that I could make that dashboard. But we are managing almost 50 projects now in cloud, and I want to see what's going on. I want to see the usage. I want to be warned in front. If there's an error somewhere, I'd really like it to go on top and show me it straight away, and maybe even have a TV in the office that goes red when there's an environment wrong or something. That would be awesome. It's a little bit of information that we could really use, and that's missing right now. So that for sure, the new overview for managing and developers as well.
Very nice. I think scheduled upgrades, keeping on the automatic upgrade train, I think scheduled upgrades would be something really, really, really fantastic. So maybe you could have a window with a patch, for example. You could say, I want this one to actually be applied on Wednesday or whatever it is, right? So you have a little bit more control over that. And I think that would also provide us with more flexibility, make it easier for us to release patches and things like that. And so I think that'd be really cool. It's also on the roadmap, so we'll see it at some point.
It was also like it was something that we had that was in our thoughts early on when we kind of redid the upgrade service for the new infrastructure. So there was some of the things that we thought about early on that we want to be able to do this. And so obviously the first iteration of the upgrade service was making it run on the new infrastructure and being able to scale better because as more and more projects are created on cloud, we need to upgrade more projects simultaneously. And then the next logical step, I think, for the upgrade service would be to enable customers, users to schedule or pick a time of date within a time and a day within a week from when that upgrade is available for when it should happen. So that's also high on my list.
A lot of things high on our list. And speaking of having a lot of new features coming out and also things that we want to do, can you maybe, I don't know who should talk about this, but can we maybe talk a little bit about how we go about prioritizing all of the many great ideas we have, all of the many features, all of the many requests that come in?
If you've ever been to bingo at Code Garden, that's pretty much how it's done. Put it into a big machine, press a button, and then whatever pops up, that's what we start working on.
It's probably as good as anything, right?
No, it's at least for our part, I can say that having Søren on board since November has really helped us prioritize and get focus on certain areas. Like Søren has been very keen on prioritizing the project invite flow and have had an impact on that and bundled that into a lot of smaller tasks that we could then incrementally add. And he got that from conversations with some of hopefully our viewers today. And the more feedback we get, the more we have a clear overview of what it will add the most to our customers. So if we have let's say 10 people asking for the same feature, that will bump up on our priority list for sure. And that's one of the reasons why the project's overview is up there now, because we have, even before Søren started, we have people asking us, even someone really special have made their own dashboard and posted on Twitter, and that if that's not a hint, then I don't know what is. So that has been on our priority list for a long time, but there have had to be some things underneath that we had to fix first for that particular feature. But the more feedback we get, the more customers to reach out to us, the higher that will definitely help us prioritize what is most important.
All right. Well, I don't think we have too many more questions coming in, so I think we should just about wrap it up. Thank you very much for maybe just before we leave, since you are a community member, I wondered if you have any or user on cloud, if you have any questions that you want to get out of your system, maybe in regards to the new features that are coming up, Frans.
Not really. That comes to mind. I didn't prepare anything like this. Of course, I've spoken to Søren, so a lot of my questions and requests have been asked already. There's one thing I really like to say. I get that people are comparing Umbraco Cloud to a hosting solution, and I like to scratch that. It's not hosting solely as hosting is known from the past. I've worked on our own VPS. I've worked on Azure apps, and if you see the engine that Umbraco Cloud really is, it empowers us to just leave it and work on projects for our clients and spend our time a lot better. So it's a lot more than hosting alone, and I think that's something that needs to be said again and again, because especially if you compare price to price, hosting can be cheaper than cloud, of course. But it can be a lot worse than cloud. So it's automation around it and how we can work with it and how fast we can deliver upgrades incrementally. It's a blast to work with. So I want to get that out there.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a good a place as any to stop. I think that's a really good point. Also, something for me to take in, working with the communication around cloud and hardcore. That these things are really important to kind of underline and also just say again and again, so everyone knows what's going on. So good point, Frans. Thank you all very much for joining, and I look forward to seeing what's coming up in the clouds in the future.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.